happy to be here. I am one of the librarians at Post. So if you're an on-campus student, hopefully you've had a chance to stop by the library. We're very welcoming to everybody. We're always happy to see students and faculty. We also often have giveaways of either snacks and treats or maybe some swag from our vendors. So definitely feel free to stop by. And I'm going to start sharing my screen so that I can show you some tips and tricks as we go through. And of course, feel free to raise your hand um, and I will get to your question as soon as I can. All right, can everybody see my screen? Can I just get like a thumbs
Yes, we
up
can.
or? Okay, great. Okay, so of course you can get to the library through Blackboard. One of the things I wanted to show you first, though, was that you can also access our resources from something called the A to Z database list. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. If you want to go ahead and bookmark that later, I definitely recommend that. It can just be kind of an easier way to get to our various databases. Okay, but if you do go through the Blackboard option, you are going to get to Eagle's eSearch, which is a great place to start your researching. There is a very easy to use search function. We can start with a real basic keyword search, maybe something like artificial intelligence is something that has come up. A lot of people have questions or assignments about it. One of the nice features pops up right away. It shows you some popular searches and it gives you options to maybe include additional terms. So artificial intelligence or AI or AI or machine learning, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll go ahead and make this a nice broad search. All right. And right at the top, we have something called research starters. These are a great way to kind of familiarize yourself with new concepts, or maybe it's even something you know about, but you just kind of want to get a refresher. I love these research starters. They're basically like academic approved Wikipedia. And I'm going to click on Access Now to kind of give you an idea. It's even kind of formatted like Wikipedia. So you've got your summary, some definitions, and as you can see going through this, there are also clickable links. So maybe you started with AI, but you want to learn more about machine learning or some of these people who are involved. So you can click through there. You can also, this is one of the reasons this is a great feature to start with. At the bottom, you're going to see all of these resources that were used to make this summary. So when you are looking for resources, do a search for some of these, see if they pop up, and you will have some sources already ready to find. Okay, so let's go back to our search. And when we did our search, we got more than 8 million results. Obviously, that's way more than anybody wants to deal with. So there's a few ways you can narrow it down. For example, depending on what class you're doing this for, your professor might be asking you to look for peer-reviewed articles. That means that they are articles that have been submitted in the author's field and their peers have had a chance to review it to kind of weigh in and say, this research looks good to me. I think this makes sense, or to ask questions. So for academic papers, you often want to have this peer-reviewed option checked. That's going to knock out things like newspaper articles and magazine articles, which can be much more opinion-based and not as research-based. Okay, so you can see we're down to about 4.5 million. We can narrow that down some more. We want to say, especially for something like a technology keyword, you want to stick with something pretty recent, right? So for AI is moving in leaps and bounds. So let's say we only want information from the past 12 months. Okay, now we're down to 500,000. Obviously, you're not going to go through a whole bunch of these, but you can see that it has narrowed things down a lot, which will help you in your research. You do also have the option to look for things by source type. So let's take a look at maybe some ebooks about AI. So let's click on this ebook option and say apply. And if you need to find maybe a chapter from a book, or if you're just interested in reading some more, you now have all of these ebook options. Okay, now let's say you have found something and you want to read it. Like I showed you before, we can either click on access full text, or this one says check for full text. This does pop up sometimes. So if you don't see something that says access, you can go ahead and check. And let's make sure we have it in our system. Okay, so this one we actually don't have. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my search. That should not have popped up because we did have the full text option selected. Let's just double check. All right, I'm going to remove the peer reviewed. And okay, now we're seeing some things that say access now. So let's click on that. All right, and then you can take a look at the book and we'll have all this information here. Usually you'll get a nice table of contents here. Okay, there, it's right there. So you can take a look at the different chapters. And then I also wanted to just show you that with an article. Let's remove that. Okay, go back to our research starter. So there is a really handy tool here that I want to show you. You can get the APA citation by clicking on the Cite tool, making sure that APA is checked, and then you can copy and paste that for your own bibliography. Now, sometimes these have errors, so you always want to double check it against the proper APA formatting, but this can save you a little time. And okay, so that's the Cite tool. There are also options to download the article for later, share it maybe with somebody in your class that you're doing an assignment with. And this Add to Project tool is something that we want to make sure we're signed into My EBSCO. You can use Eagles eSearch without creating an account, but you can also create a free account. Now, mine is already signed in. Let me just show you what it looks like if I was not signed in. Okay. Go to My EBSCO and sign in. But you also have the option over there to create an account. So see right here, if you did not have an account, you could create one. We're going to say sign in. All right, this bounced us into, I had a different database open. Let me just hop back over to Eagles eSearch for a second. Okay. Yes, so my EBSCO is signed in. We'll go back to do our search. And it's important to make sure that you are signed in if you want to do the add to project or save functions. Otherwise, they won't be saved for your next session. So say you were interested in coming back to this research starter later. You can click on Save. I already had this one saved from a previous session, but make sure the little ribbon is checked for Save. And also we can add to project. You can either create a new project or save to a previous one. Let's create a new project, AI sample. If you want, you can put in the due date for your paper, write yourself some notes, and we'll say create. All right, you can see it's been added to my project. And then I can find it over on the left. I can go to projects, and this is the one we just made. This is a previous one. I don't have anyone saved for that one, so we'll go back. AI sample. Okay, so there's the one we saved. Also on the left, you can start new searches. You can build something called a concept map. You can get some help. You can look for a specific publication, which can be helpful if your professor has asked you to find something from, say, the New York Times. You can go ahead and do that search. All right. We're going to talk about the New York Times again a little bit later, but this shows you the access. All right, before we move on to our next database, does anybody have any questions? Not yet? Oh, okay, cool. Our next one is a database called ProQuest. So this is very similar to EBSCO, but they have some different content. So let's try a different search. I don't know, I was watching a thing about the desert the other day, so let's search for cactus. All right. We can also do some of those same search limitations like we did before. So we want only full text, so that's only things we have access to. Only peer-reviewed, the legit academic stuff. And for right now, we'll say we only want scholarly journals. Okay. And we can look at these little abstracts, see if there's something that sounds interesting. All right. All right, let's try this one about sustainable growth. All right, so you have some very similar tools that we saw before. You can download the PDF. There is also a citation tool. Again, just make sure that the APA option is checked, and you can copy and paste that for your bibliography. You can also export it to some citation managers. So if you use something like RefWorks, EndNote, EasyBib, something like that, you can export those all there. You can copy the URL. This is good to remember when you're dealing with scholarly sources. You don't necessarily want to just grab something from the HTML bar. You want what's called the permalink. So here we will go to copy URL, and that will make sure that we have the accurate link that we can access again later. All right, there are some extra tools here. ProQuest has a similar free account so that you can save things to your account for later and you can add things to a project. Again, we have the citation exporters and some other options. With ProQuest, ProQuest has an internal AI research assistant that can be pretty helpful. So let's take a look at that now. So the research assistant will give you some key insights. It's like a very quick snapshot of the article. You can explore documents with similar topics. Now, this time they don't have anything to suggest, but I think if we were doing a more popular search for something like AI or robotics, there would be a lot more results. You can find things with similar key terms. So if you were interested specifically in gardening, you can check some of those and do a search using just those selected terms. All right, and then it gives you some more results right there. Let's hop back for a second. And in addition to those, there are more options here like research topics. This is if you have a very general idea of a project you might want to do, but you haven't really finessed your main thesis, the main research question that you want to be answering. This can help you generate some ideas. All right, so I picked something that's a little technical, so we won't go too into these, but I think this gives you a general idea of how it can help you brainstorm. Also has an option for visualizing topics. I mentioned the concept map that Eagle's eSearch offers, and this is a little bit similar. You can see it kind of takes a minute for the AI to process your request, and here it's got a similar concept map. It is not clickable, but it does give you some new keywords to play with. All right, does anyone have any questions about ProQuest? All right,
I have a
I'm not
question.
going to go through, oh, go ahead.
How do we get there so we can show everybody?
Great question. Yes, I had these tabs already open. Let me show you how to get to those. So I dropped the link in the chat, the A to Z databases. One of the quickest ways, if you already know what you're looking for, is just to navigate by the letters. So P for ProQuest, right there. E will get you to Eagle's eSearch. Great question. Thank you for asking that. Another
Yep.
couple of features. Oh, did you have something to add?
Nope, just wanted to thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right, a few more things to mention while we are on the Eagles eSearch page. You can narrow down by subject. So, for example, if you are an accounting major and you want to know which databases are best, and you don't want to go through all 100 because why on earth would you? Can go to accounting and we will tell you what the best and most relevant databases for you will be. So here's Eagles eSearch again. Here's ProQuest, but specifically a business one. And then you will also be using Bloomberg Tax in a lot of your classes. You can also look for database types. So for example, if you want to find some videos, we're going to say all subjects for this one, but videos and film, this will only show you the databases that have video content. There's some really great ones actually. So Films on Demand has some content that is just kind of general interest. You can see that there's History Channel, HBO, National Geographic content. They have plenty of previews right here. If anyone is a history nerd, they also have the new Ken Burns Revolutionary War documentary that just came out. Let's see. All right, so you could watch this, which recently aired on PBS. So you can see that there is some pretty recent content, which is nice. All right, let's go back. All right, another couple of ones. Um, there are some popular movies in, I believe it is Swank. Let me just double check. So we're not going to have anything like Netflix level content. Um, but if you want something for a class, that's great. But even if you just want to watch some popular movies, we do have some things in Swank. So for example, the Denzel Washington Malcolm X, there's Selma. And then they also do some curated collections that you might want to have a look through later. Okay. One of the other databases that I did want to show you, and I will go back to the A to Z database list for this one. There is one that is called the Points of View Reference Center. So some of you may have already done an assignment where you are taking a position in a debate or an argument. And Points of View Reference Source is great for that. So they have some suggested topics already right on their main website. Censorship has frequently been in the news, so if you're interested in learning more about that, or if you are writing a paper, taking one position or the other, you can click on that to get some resources. And they get pretty specific. So censorship is pretty general, but I know that Post has assignments about book bans. So we can go to that. And here's another one of those research starters. All right. So we can access that. All right, this gives you an overview of the topic. And then let's just go back. Yes, okay, so they don't necessarily say pro or con, but you can take a look at the articles, and this one is point, and this one is counterpoint. So this one is taking the stance that banning books, not great. As a librarian, I would of course agree. But depending on your assignment or your point of view, you might want to take a look at the counterpoint. Book censorship can be justified in some cases. All right. Does anyone have any questions about Points of View Reference Center? Nope. Okay. I just have a couple more things that I want to share with you. Let me go back to the A to Z database list. One thing that you might want to know about are our LibGuides. So these are introductions to various topics. Um, we mentioned banned books, so let's take a look at that one. So this is a LibGuide that I put together, and there are links to print books that we have available on campus. If you don't have a library card yet, you might want to go ahead and make a free library card on campus, and you can access these books in person. But even if you are not on campus, we do have ebooks. Those are listed. Okay, yeah, these are listed over here on the right. So even our online students, of course, you can access these ebooks from wherever you are. So sometimes the LibGuides are about very specific topics. Sometimes they are more subject-based. So for example, if you're studying biology, you can come here and get some very general information. There's ebooks, more databases, suggested websites, and you can also chat to the library. So right now, no one is available for chat because I am helping you right here. But otherwise, during our open hours, you can do a live chat with a librarian. All right, two more quick things. With your post studentship, I guess, with because you're a post student, you have free access to some resources like the New York Times. You can go ahead and sign up for a free account using your post university email. That's right here. You can get to it from the A to Z database list. And you can also do the same thing for the Wall Street Journal. And yeah, so those are some of the points I wanted to go over with you. I showed you some of our databases. I showed you how to narrow down by different disciplines or by database type. You can always find more information in the LibGuides. And when the library is open, you can either stop by in person or you can send us a chat message. You can also always email us. I'm going to drop our email in the chat. All right, there you go. And before I head out, does anyone have any additional questions? Okay, we are also always looking for feedback about our library. We are always trying to find some new ideas, listen to what students and faculty are looking for. So if there's something that you think our library could benefit from or that you would like to see us have, please feel free to get in touch and let us know, and we would be happy to discuss that with you and see what we can do.